Okay. Looks like the stream has started. There we go. And we are live. So without further ado, welcome back to Kingless Chronicle. Last time the party entered the High Elven City and got up to some shenanigans here. Gildos acquiring Mithril Chain Vest, I believe, or Chainmail. And also acquiring a lump of Mithril as well. Delon learning about some of the secrets of the Savage Lands so he could better negotiate with the people there in the future. Bub going on a spiritual journey with the spirits and learning that he needs to bring people together. And essentially, that's his role as the druid, is to essentially tear down walls that these people have made for themselves and make them realize that they can work together. In a way that only a druid could. And lastly, Eleanor had to enter full royalty mode and started swaggering about, much to her own chagrin. For this session, we're going to pick back up. Sadly, Bub is not with us this session. However, he will probably be here next week. So, alrighty. Actually, I will play this track. So, alright, so starting things off, Gildos, you have recently acquired your Mithril Chainmail with your lump of Mithril, which you brought back to the Chrysanthemum estate so it wouldn't get stolen. And you've left the estate, and now you're heading out again.
Indeed.
As you're heading for the library, you just hear people murmuring about you. Some people openly pointing, just wondering, like, what this old human is doing here. You hear some people wonder just how long you have left to live. Clearly you have gray hair, so you're clearly on your last leg.
I mean, they were wrong.
But nobody really accosts you or does anything. They're just kind of like murmuring and pointing visibly. And as you get to the library, you find that it's basically a Greek-style pantheon type of thing with massive pillars that are function as essentially the doorways. There is no straight door; it's just open, and there is no roof on the building. Simply, it is open as well. And inside there are just rows and rows of shelves with scrolls and books and the like. Tables for reading at, and all of that. People come and go, they'll take certain things, but others come back and return them. It works on, as from what you can perceive, Gildos, the honor system. People come and take whatever they want, and then they just bring it back when they're done.
Right, so common stuff then.
You see a plaque written in Elvish outside, if you can speak or read Elvish.
No, I was about to say, I sure hope those ales are like sides or in common, because otherwise...
They are only in Elvish.
Well, I guess I'll go see the librarian, I suppose.
So as you
Yeah,
go looking around,
else.
as you're going looking around for a librarian, after realizing you can't read the numerical system of how it's organized, Gildos, you find there is no librarian here. The place doesn't have one. Everybody just knows where everything is. The only thing you can tell, despite not understanding the wording of what's on display, is that it's all extremely well organized.
Yeah, have at least like some pictograms or anything, like more than just numbers or letters.
There is numbers, letters, and seemingly something else here that is a full word, likely a genre or a year date or something.
What is it that I can, cast tongue again? I think it's a couple levels actually.
Yeah, you got Common, Dwarf, and Orcish. Unfortunately, there's not much root dialects that converge with Elvish for that.
Oh, I haven't had time to actually take language lessons with Eleanor, so I'll act, like any sane person would act. And, I confused, like, looking for help. So hopefully, there's a high elf with some hint of pity.
So as you're looking around, blatantly confused, not knowing what is what, or where to start, you just see a few high elves snicker at you and just walk away. As if finding your confusion amusing. However, as you're getting there still flabbergasted, you hear a voice from your left.
Uh-huh.
How ignoble. Snickering at someone's own confusion and not even offering to help.
Hey, at least they're not sticking their legs out to make me fall. I'll give them that. But
that would also be quite undignified. How are things, my lord?
well, all in all, the day has been pretty fine, but unfortunately, I'm rather distressed at the moment, seeing how I can't read anything that's written on that when I need to, because I'm looking for some books that may or may not be there.
I see. Then allow me to assist you. What types of books are you looking for, my lord?
Let's see. Well, first of all, surely the High Elves have a book that would reference landmarks around the Savage Lands. But I'm not looking for any recent one. More like one that was written at least 1,000 years ago.
So you see as Ophelia extends a bony finger over to one bookcase, which has a bit of writing on it. This is the year's day. This is the topic on discussion. And this here would be the alphabetized sequence. If we're looking for something written perhaps 1,000 years ago, we will follow the year's date 1,000 years back, which would lead us to this shelf. As for landmarks, we will then check the alphabetization and the genre for our history and locale, I believe. This scroll in this map might suffice.
So I'll take the scroll first. Like, take a quick glance, see if it's written in common. If it's not, I'm gonna put it on the shelf, back on the shelf.
It's written in Elvish.
Right, I'll take the map then.
As you look at the map, all of the words are written in Elvish. However, luckily it's a map. So the landmarks are still somewhat more understandable.
Right, so I'll take the map. Well, goodbye to Ophelia and say, now that since I have a map, I'm looking for something else as well. Because, you see, I am still a student of Mysterium. So I still need to brush up on my conjuration classes so that I can possibly pass them when I come back. Now, hopefully I'll find a tome or a scroll or whatever written something I can understand. So Ophelia, like, I actually joined my hands together. Like, if you could help me on that, I'll be really grateful.
She has a somewhat bemused expression, but nods. I will attempt to comb these tomes and scrolls for something in a language you can more understand. If I recall correctly, you of course can speak Common, and if I take it as a war chief, you can speak Orcish.
Right. And also speak Dwarvish.
I see. Unfortunately, those languages are not too common in this section of the Temple of Knowledge. They seem to have translated everything into Elvish as a matter of principle, I would suppose. But I will attempt to find something with some root dialect, perhaps. With that, you see as she kind of sachets away and runs a bony finger up and down multiple bookcases with incredible speed, as if she is unbelievably used to doing this. Eventually, she combs the whole library and comes back with about 2 items. This one is written in Giant. With Orcish and Dwarvish, I believe you can find some manner of understanding.
I do know a few words of Giant as well, just a couple of things I've heard, really. But, well, if you're here to help me translate some things, then I'll be really grateful, but what about this one, then?
This one is written in Elvish, unfortunately. However, it is an excellent piece on conjuration.
Aha.
It's most fascinating as it seems to imply the summoning of creatures most akin to spirits and elementals.
Well, I do know a thing or two about summoning spirits now, so that could help. And now's a good time as any to learn Elvish, I suppose. Then I'll take the book and just look at Ophelia and say, "And you, what about you? What are you here for?"
I was attempting to comb this place for information on the former plague and the travels that my group would have went on before. Unfortunately, it seems like their records do not go quite that far back. They go extremely far back, but not quite that far. I was, however, able to pick up on some landmarks and some information here and there that I feel like will lead me on an interesting, perhaps useful course.
I mean, that's something at least. But if even the High Elves don't have anything like that, yeah. Well, then again, it's quite far removed from King's Landing or any other place.
The one thing that I have observed about these high elfin tomes and scriptures is I do not believe they are entirely honest.
Oh, you think?
See as she furrows her brow? No, I do not believe so. They seem unbelievably biased for scholars' sakes, and occasionally they're just filled with outright lies. For shame on them for considering themselves scholars and calling this a temple of knowledge, when they have filled it with a plethora of lies.
Well, everything to elevate the High Elf status among themselves, really. Have you ever listened to the debates around? It's all about High Elves are better than us. High Elf this, High Elf that.
Indeed, they were quite dry topics.
I was just like, I get having pride in yourself, in your race, but to do that every day, every year, talking in circles about that, just having not tired of this. Well, I guess I don't have 500 years to waste away doing that, so guess I never understand.
Nor could I. In my time, nobility spent their times discussing actual methods and means to better their subjects, as it was their responsibility as nobility to take care of and better the people that they are responsible for. Watching these nobles, as they discuss themselves, carry on in a self-congratulatory manner as this is. It leaves a foul taste on my tongue were I to be able to taste.
I get it. It's just, well, you know, the sheltered people, but on a much grander scale. Well, not like we can do anything about that. Just have to hope the other half-race are better on that front.
Yes, if the Wood Elves and the Drow are quite like these, then I do not believe I wish to spend much more time around them.
Me neither. Still, we have books to peruse, so how about we try and find a seat?
Indeed. With that, you and Ophelia sit down and begin perusing the books and tomes. Make me a... Let's see. For the map and learning Elvish, make me a history check to learn some stuff from that.
Uh-huh. That's a 16.
Very nice. And for the magic, make me an Arcana check for conjuration knowledge.
Arcana 18.
Very nice. So while studying the map with Ophelia, Ophelia is able... you notice something when she's showing you the map. She doesn't explain what the words are on the map. She simply gives you hints and lets you draw conclusions, noticeably allowing you to puzzle out the words yourself.
Right. Well,
With the map, what exactly were you looking for on this old school map?
well, preferably your temple is still standing somewhere in the middle of the swamp, you know, or something like that.
With a 16, I will say that you are able to find the location of a former temple of what is specifically listed as... Give me one moment. A temple of Faust. However, it is mentioned that this temple has been repurposed and reused by multiple different people throughout the generations.
At least there's a temple somewhere, so that may be a good idea, a good place to start. Essentially.
Indeed. On the map, it is displayed as a bit of a ziggurat.
Uh-huh.
With smaller sort of ziggurat style pyramids dotted around it as well, with the largest central one in the center.
Right, so might be worth, taking a look at the smaller ones. Well, actually, before doing any of that, I'll take a map of what we have already and like put it on it. You know.
Alrighty. So as you put the map that we already have on top of it, you find that in the age-old map, you find that the temple is, very specifically, we'll use this color for it. Temple is essentially there.
Uh-huh. You see?
So just about where you learned the temple roughly was before, but now you have a more exact location.
Straight south from where we are, essentially.
Straight south, straight through the woods into the swamp.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it's closer to the mountains than I thought, but...
If you wish to leave it on the map, I could leave it there for you if you wanted.
No, it's fine. I know. Just so we know where to go later. Really, so it's like
Fair enough.
with the ball.
And now for the book on conjuration and summoning elementals, and spirits and the like. Ophelia takes a decent amount of time, most of the day, honestly, giving you rough ideas what the words in the tome are, and still never telling you what they are, and letting you piece them together. Luckily, after the history book, you understood how she likes to teach people, and began to adapt quite quickly to it, as you were much more able to understand a little bit more Elvish after working with her on this tome. You don't get 100% through the tome due to the language barrier, and Ophelia taking quite a slow, somewhat more helpful, but still impractical method to teaching you.
Mhm.
She's just clearly trying to teach you 2 subjects at once. And in no rush to hurry it along, essentially. But you get a decent chunk of conjuration knowledge, and some work done on understanding some Elvish as well. With the sun beginning to set, Ophelia looks up, and seems to nod, and just simply reaches into her person and opens her tome, which, once again, is all somewhat just filled with blank pages, and a handful of them having old text you can't read.
Right.
She looks over at it and simply presses a finger onto one of the blank pages. Words seem to appear as if writing themselves on, or more interestingly, like something which is being shaved off of the page to reveal words. She nods to herself and closes the tome.
Just look at it now. I actually see it in action. It's like, oh, so it's a diary of sort.
Not necessarily. I believe that every page is already fully written out. Every once in a while I attempt to decipher, and more wording is revealed to me.
Perhaps you need to do something specific during the day to be some specific keywords, but
I feel it is instrumental in relearning myself within this very tome.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, well, how you were doing, really. I mean, it's been a while, a week and a half since you've been essentially up and around. Now, seeing how fast you were at the library, I'm not worried about your motor skills, but I don't know, just curious, really.
She gives you as much of a gentle smile as she can muster. I appreciate your concern for myself. It is noted and appreciated once more. I am doing far better than when I first awoke. My condition when I first awoke bothered me immensely. I could scarcely even look at myself without feeling a rage within my own heart. However, now, I feel I am getting more accustomed to the nature of myself. The sole source of bother for me now is a feeling of loss, an immense, deep sense of forgottenness. Like I have lost something that I should not have lost. And the more I ponder on it, the more frustrated and empty I feel. It is as if it is right within my grasp and yet falling between fingers. like I am attempting to hold water or sand within the palm of my hand. It pools and flows between the gaps.
Or simply means that it's not the right time for you to hold it. I mean, water be water, but eventually it turns to ice, and that you can hold. So, if you want my honest opinion, it's only been a week. I want to say don't beat yourself with that, and I'm sure in due time you'll remember what needs to be remembered, really.
Yes. I must remember, as I am now, I theoretically have all of time to remember. The concept of having an infinite amount of time to accomplish something is alien to me.
And then, I just gesture around us and say, look at that, hell. All that to learn.
I have combed through a majority of these tomes. I have learned that I do not wish to learn more of them or commit too much of these to memory.
I just look at her and say, I point at the forest and you look at the trees. Well, that's not something expected of you.
Apologies. I truly believed you were gesturing to this knowledge here.
Yeah. I know I have rather big arms, but they're not big enough to encompass the world, unfortunately.
No. If your arms were quite that big, it would be quite the inconvenience.
Uh-huh. Oh, but the slap you could have...
Yes, indeed. The might one could muster if they had the shoulder strength and the spinal structure to lift them. Shall we away, Lord Gildas?
Well, it is about time, yes. And, Ophelia, it's just a little thing, but if we're in private, no, just please drop the Lord.
I'm afraid I cannot do so. It is improper and impolite of me. Do not refer to you as your station demands.
I guess, it's just, I'm not really used to that. Not used to titles or anything.
Fascinating. You are unused to titles, yet you are a man of cloth.
I've only been that for what? A month and a half now, maybe 2. Still quite a recent thing.
Truly, I could not tell. You walk with purpose, and you act in certain ways as if you know exactly what to do and what you think in many different situations. Why, if I didn't know any better, and until now I didn't, I would have said you were a man of cloth for quite some time now.
Well, I've been devout my whole life, yes. It's just, well, I guess you would be right in that becoming a man of the cloth renewed me with purpose, really. Well, I could tell you the whole story another time if you would want, but...
I think I would like to hear it while we're traveling, yes. The journeys across our voyage can be quite droll and dreary. Having stories to regale and ones for me to remember sounds quite pleasant.
Right, well, suit yourself.
She begins walking forwards. and walks step in step with you.
I keep forgetting she's not hovering. She's not that undead.
No, she legitimately walks. She has legs.
I know. But like, her portrait is like, yeah, I'm sure she's hovering. Like, that's why I was so disappointed she doesn't. It screams, yeah, I don't walk, I hover. But no.
No, she's not a wraith.
Maybe when they're too late. Yeah, it would have been.
But alrighty. As Gildas and Ophelia walk through the streets, Ophelia wearing her cloak to disguise herself, and then night in the sun setting as the moon begins to rise, I will move over to the Chrysanthemum Estate.
Yep.
As Delon, as you're in the Chrysanthemum Estate, you find that when you arrive, the food that was on the table has been swapped out for dinner without seemingly anybody really touching it yet. It's all still piping hot and fresh. You can also find that any dirt that was in this estate has already been cleaned. And the candles have been relit and replaced with new candles. Somebody is taking an especial attention to detail to maintain a high standard of living. In fact, if you head into the bathhouse or the into your own private chamber to use the loo, so to speak, you find that there is already a hot bath in there when you arrive.
Goodness. So this is the life of luxury she's lived in. I can see how this can breed a certain kind of person. Fascinating. Still, it is a beautiful estate.
Another thing of note is if you check the closets in your room, you find that there is already tailored clothing that fits your size in there.
Remarkable. Look at the quality. Seems measured to my size. Stupendous.
As you begin kind of walking the halls in certain places, just admiring the estate and how anything you could want in the estate seems to appear somehow when you're in a place where you could want it. You eventually find Eleanor wandering the halls in what can only be described as a bit of a bathrobe or a nightgown of some sort. It's some sheer silk, and it hugs her quite well, but hides everything that would be needing hidden. She pauses at the sight of you, and simply gives a nod. Hello, Delon.
Lady Eleanor. Good seeing you. Do you wish to speak with me?
Yes, I do. If you could come with me, I have a sitting room right over this way. I was actually wandering the halls to see if you were here yet.
Forgive me, I just returned from the library and I was walking around the estate. It is remarkable. Warm baths, naughty fresh slate dinner. I checked even the closet of the living space and found it was tailored to my size. And look at the architecture. He opens his arms. It's beautiful. You can see the engravings on the side. That must have taken decades to lay this entire estate. And to preserve it in such a way, you must have used some sort of wax. It's remarkable.
Yes, it is quite an accomplishment, isn't it? The staff in the High Elf Citadel is quite on point.
They're remarkable. I've not seen such service. Such dedication. It's truly inspiring. many do you have on staff?
Oh, how many do we have attending to the Chrysanthemum estate currently?
Yes.
If I were to hazard a guess, to accomplish this level of speed, I would say that they have quite possibly about 20 on maintenance, perhaps 20 on food preparation, and perhaps 30 that are floaters that are essentially being thrown about where needed. So that would be roughly 70 on staff, simply to maintain the one estate currently.
My word. How much? They are paid properly, I expect.
Oh yes, of course. They're well and truly compensated for the work they provide.
And you can just afford this. My family, we have the barest of staff. And they are extremely dedicated. Do they live on the premises or around it?
No, they actually live off-site, and they arrive when we are here, and so long as we are here, they remain on the premises, but are not seen or heard from. Servants are usually intended to be neither seen nor heard, and they are meant to provide anything we could really desire, and pick up on our habits and wants, just from observation.
I'm gonna roll insight. There's definitely a tone in the way she speaks about this, as if there's something else about it. She doesn't particularly like it, although I guess I don't have much insight.
So with a 7, you're not overly sure exactly what she might have against or for it, but you can definitely tell that she has an opinion on it.
Forgive me, but you seem your words were oddly specific.
Allow me to lead you into the sitting room then, so that we might speak more privately.
Oh, of course.
She turns around, and you notice that even though she's wearing the silk garb, she still has her scimitar on her hip.
I still have my blade.
She leads you into her sitting room, which is a rather large, expansive room that is essentially just filled with some tea, cookies, and the like, silver platters, and all of this. Excellent natural chairs and seats made from tree stumps, plants, and pillowy vines and bushes and the like. She just simply sits on a bush, and it just moves like the most comfortable pillow one could imagine. Sit anywhere you like.
Delon's just like a kid in a candy store, just like looking at everything. His eyes are drawn to just everything. Everything is marvelous. I've seen luxury, but I've not seen anything like this.
She looks around at it, kind of bemused and a little embarrassed, as if not like your reactions are kind of an embarrassment to her, not because of not because of their genuineness or because you're embarrassing her, but because her own quality of life embarrasses her. That you can easily pick up. Right. She picks up a teacup, which you notice is actually a flower, and just drinks the tea from it, and you notice that it's especially rich, like honey. If you require anything, simply go ahead and have some. We have plenty of fresh cookies, and the tea and nectar is excellent.
Of course. He tries to bring a bit of composure back, but he's still just astounded by everything around it. Like, this room alone would be the mantelpiece, the treasure room of a noble house of a minor lord. No, not even a minor lord, a lord, rivaled only by, and possibly excelled by, those who live in King's Landing proper. Their estates, they rival something like this, but I've never been privy to seeing anything like that. Though I've heard legends.
King's Landing is one of the only other places my family ventures to on summer occasions. We usually will arrive here in the spring, and we venture to King's Landing in the summer.
Well, forgive me. You have an estate in King's Landing as well?
Yes, actually. Though I am not able to call on it currently. I can call on this, as I can bluff my way into it. I could not pull such a stunt in King's Landing. My father has a much firmer stranglehold on his estates in King's Landing than he does here.
Delon approaches and just finally just sits down, kind of overwhelmed in what he's seeing. But even looking at the plate in front of him, he is this plate made of pure silver?
Yes, it's pure silver. The silverware is mithril, and if you look at the teacups themselves, they are actually a natural plant which comes in the form of a cup, and we simply pour tea into it, and the nectar from the flower itself sweetens the tea, and once you have finished sipping it, you may eat the flower as so. She proceeds to eat the flower, which is notably soft and tender, and also crunches a little.
Delon just looks at his reflection in the silver, and for a moment, she can see, if she wants to roll insight, she can maybe see a little bit more, but she thinks she sees, like, him contemplate.
Yeah, she don't see nothing.
Yeah, she don't see nothing.
She got a
So
1.
he's just gonna... He's fine.
She can see some things on your mind, but she has no idea what.
He just shakes his head ever so slightly. Do you know how much this silver plate would be worth to those in the outskirts of King's Landing?
No.
Just curious.
Well, yes, actually, I do know the actual worth.
Then you know how much this could feed? How many farmers, seeds, and plants?
Yes, actually, I know exactly how many mouths it could feed.
I see. Of course, I'm getting ahead of myself. You wish to speak to me on something. He grabs a cookie and a cup and begins to eat.
She nods, smiling a bit now that you're enjoying something and sort of relaxing a little.
Mm-hmm.
To put it bluntly, I'm not entirely comfortable partaking in my family's good graces here. While the estate itself is comfortable and it reminds me of home, I do not wish to remain here very long. I also do not quite feel comfortable masquerading as the daughter my family expects me to be.
Delon halts his sipping for a bit. How so?
I am expected to walk with the dignity, regality, grace, poise, and pride of the chrysanthemum line. When in High Elf City, I must be the most regal, prideful, and important woman in the room. When in King's Landing, I must not pay the commonry much attention. I must walk with my head held high. If I see an orphan trip, I must not let it bother me. It is someone else. The Templars, of course, will handle it. I have more important more stringent things to keep on my mind. And while I have gotten quite good at masquerading and pretending to be what they want me to be, it is just not in my heart to enjoy such things. I don't quite enjoy flaunting my wealth and status over others. I don't enjoy when I know that others do not have such things. It bothers me. It does not feel earned to me. It simply feels earned by my predecessors and simply handed down to me, and I do not believe that I deserve it. Perhaps if I worked hard enough to create something of my own, yes, of course I could earn this. I know I could earn all of this. But as I am now, I do not feel worthy of it.
So, these things do bother you. And because of that is why you feel it is causing you issue. It's why you know the worth of this plate. How many mouths it can feed. Is that correct?
Precisely. When I am here, all I simply see is not wasted wealth. That is not it at all. It is purposeful wealth. Everything here serves a purpose. Everything here is grand. Everything is needed and used properly. However, I simply understand that the chrysanthemum line could be doing more for other people. We could be quite venture capitalists in a sense. We could put a lot of our wealth into the common populace and boost even more of our own people. We could boost Asterium. We could even boost the citizens of King's Landing, Gloucester, Renauld even. We could sprinkle our wealth around and donate them and see others prosper with it. And it wouldn't even dent us. If we did it well, we wouldn't recompensate our losses with simply our investments. If we donated appropriately, we could essentially get it all back in a few hundred years.
You seem to have thought deeply on it and come to that conclusion. If that's the case, if I may ask, why did you call me here then? You seem to already have this planned ahead.
You mentioned I could speak to you on certain things. I did wish to apologize formally for my declaration of property. Still does not feel quite right to claim you as such. After all, you are under my employ. You are not under my servitude. This is a great difference.
Aye, there is. I'm also under someone else's service as well, but not claiming me as such even if you wanted to. But you told me up front that you felt that was the best proper understanding, and you know your culture better than I. As much as I may say so.
Aye, but simply put, I still wish to apologize to you. It felt like an overstep. Additionally, I will not have the ingredients necessary to make another drow potion for some time. This means that I have to masquerade as, well, myself for some time, which will make hiding harder. Luckily, in these lands, such things are not quite an issue. So my name holds quite a bit of weight.
But you worry once we leave this city.
Yes, if we head to the Wood Elf City, I do worry what my brethren and sisters there will think of myself venturing forward. Luckily, I do have a potion for when we arrive there, but I only have the one. they're quite expensive, and the ingredients are quite hard to come by.
Lady Eleanor, may I ask you something?
You may.
Your disguise when we left Asterion made sense to me. Completely understood it. But this obsession with camouflaging yourself, it does somewhat bother me. For if I may speak frankly, I don't see much difference between you as your drow and you as you are now.
That is somewhat the point, but also the reason for the change. I must remain myself. I did not wish to alter myself too greatly, simply access other assets of my own genetics. However, if I masqueraded and went about as myself everywhere we went, it would bring undue stress and targets on all of our backs. I am quite the prime target for ransom.
I understand from that perspective. I truly do. What I mean to say is, what I'm trying to get at, is, forgive me, but it seems that you may not. This is how do I put it? I feel as if you're putting such an emphasis on these different aspects of yourself, and yes, you claim them. It's almost like you don't like being what you are. And if that is the case, I will say firmly, I don't believe that's right of you. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to be not enjoy about oneself. You've done remarkably well, both in life and in this moment.
So when you look up at Eleanor, you see that she has a very gentle expression on her face as you say that. Very earnest appreciation. I appreciate such words. I am not often to hearing such genuine praise for such things. Most of the time they are far more fictitious and extraneous.
What's the truth? The truth of the matter is, if I may say so, I was actually relieved when you took the potion and you appeared as you are now. I was worried. The woman I was greeting when I was at your manor, I saw a portrait, and it was a younger version of yourself, although it does match you as you are.
Oh, good heavens, that portrait is embarrassing.
To be honest, I've seen worse, but the point I'm trying to make is I'd seen a version of you, and I worried, I brought it up, that you had, in your disparity for, you're desperate to move forward, to escape Asterion. You've done untold damage to yourself, although you assured me otherwise. And the amount of relief I felt when you were transformed into as you are now filled me relief. To know that you are still the person you were. You've only just changed. It's as if you changed the mask for another. But you are still the same woman, just as beautiful as you were. And that relieves me, to know that you do not sacrifice yourself in the name of some form of self-hate or hurt.
No, good heavens, no. I would never go out of my way to harm myself or have any sort of undue desire to do damage to myself. I do not hate myself in any way, Delon. I'm sorry I gave you such an opinion. I do not even hate where I come from. I simply hate my peers.
Hmm.
I apologize if I have
nods.
not properly articulated that. I do not wish to go around as a high elf, as it is difficult to associate with others when they see you and such. Those who know expect me to act away, and they've already made up their opinion on me before they've even seen me. Those who don't know, well, if I am kind to them as myself, they will expect others like myself to be kind in return, and they will be poorly misunderstood. They will be more forward with high elves, and that will simply get them into trouble.
I feel I understand your predicament. As a white dragonborn, it varies considerably on how those approach me. In some places I'm welcomed, in others I am feared, and in places like this, I am met with an ambivalent and antagonism.
Yes, that
It's
could
almost
quite be
charming how passive it
described as the
is.
high elf MO. Ambivalence and antagonism.
Hmm. It's almost charming in its own way,
I
but
beg your pardon?
it's charming. It's so it's so delightfully simple. You know exactly how they're going to react. It's like they have it's like you have the pride of a dragon. And yet, you know exactly how one would react. It's charming. You don't have to you don't have to pretend, or you don't have to I don't have to worry about other constraints. They're out with it. They show their hostility directly, but in a respectful and restrained way. It's so delightfully earnest.
I
So cut and
can't
dry.
imagine how that is anything positive, but if you enjoy it to some degree, then who am I to take that from you?
As a warrior, as a warrior, you must counter for every blow, worry, and how to defend or block. After some time, you begin to enjoy the blows that you know are coming, in the way you know they will always come. That's how I see it. Ah, yes, always a step forward, always a high strike. Ah, yes, always a step back, always a low strike. Rinse, repeat. And in that way, it's charming. If you catch my meaning in that.
No, I quite do. It's the same as when you are learning to fence. Lunge, riposte, riposte,
Mm.
lunge. Parry, riposte.
Aye. And speaking of which, if I may say so, I wish to Isaac, when we have the time, I would like to test your metal. I've only seen your magical skills, although yet you carry your scabbard on your hip. Good martial skill, and I would like to test it myself, if of course you'd allow me.
I could easily humor you in that. I
Humor
think I
me.
recall you mentioning something, a desire similar to that, but not in so much detail.
I was trained by Isaac. I was trained in the Templar way, and Templars view combating someone to understand them in another sense. It's how I got to understand Tulio in some manner. Even though our duel was brief, it
That
was
was
in
not what I
nature
would
to.
call a duel. That was more like an assassination attempt.
Ah, but he did not kill me.
No, he stayed his blade at the last moment.
Aye, and I did not burn him to a crisp by obliterating him with my breath weapon.
Part of me feels like Tulio would have been able to somehow jump out of the way even at point blank range.
Hmm, perhaps, but that was
His
not what happened.
dexterity is even rivaling to that of wood elves. Yet he's merely a human being. It's fascinating.
And that bothers you.
No, it doesn't bother me per se, it's just fascinating. I can't imagine what sort of training or habits he would have had to go through to get so nimble. His nimbleness surpasses what most humans would ever be able to accomplish.
Hmm. Well, he's a man of his own means, which means he's had to do things differently. I'm sure we'll see more of his skills.
For better or worse. Ah, but another thing, DeLong.
Yes.
I will be heading for an appearance tomorrow, which I will be gone for the remainder of the day, and I will likely not return until late evening. Do not feel worried if I'm not here when you wake up.
You're going alone?
Yes, I will be making an appearance as I need to. I don't
But I shall
imagine it would
accompany you.
be... Are you sure? You don't even know what kind of appearance it's going to be.
It's a high elf ball. I presume it will be like other noble balls, except possibly filled with ambivalent aggression. More so than most. Am I wrong?
I never quite specified it was going to be a ball, but you're a bit spot on. It will be a gathering where other of the nobler houses will be in attendance, and I have been strangleholded into attending, as is the custom.
Will there be dancing?
Yes, there will be dancing.
And drinks, I presume.
Yes. There will also be food.
And
there will also be card games, dice games, debate stage, and a few of the nobility will have brought likely their hired aid, and there will be contests between their hired aid, their man, so to speak, and seeing wagers of great wealth, or perhaps money, on whose man is better. The high elf nobility greatly enjoys finding foreign fighters, never elves, and showing them off like a new toy, if that makes sense.
I see. Thinks about it. And of course, you will be joining this event for appearance's sake.
Precisely. I'll be attending as I need to.
Well, I did promise your parents that I would accompany you and protect you, at least in this status. And I gave my word to the king of Mysterium that I would do so. As such, I will join you.
Well, alright then. Just do me a favor and do not get into too much trouble. While I could maybe weasel you out of any too bad of repercussions in the public streets, if something were to happen at the ball to cause too much of a scene, well, I may not be able to bail you out. This is why I'm not inviting Tulio or Yorm. If they insist on coming, they are not. No offense to Yorm, he seems an earnest gent, but I feel as if he would get into mischief after imbibing too much. As for Tulio, well, I don't even need to explain why I won't be bringing him.
And Tulio will not be interested in it.
I actually imagine he'd be quite interested merely for the sake of messing with the nobility. To purposely cause a scene.
Of course. Lady Helen, do you think this will be my first ball?
No, however, I imagine it's your first high elf ball.
You're correct. All I ask is you have some confidence in me.
It is not a lack of confidence I have in you, Delon, merely a request that I felt the need to make formally as a precaution.
Then it is duly noted. We should probably bring Sir Gildas and Ophelia.
I believe that those two would likely not draw too much attention. Gildas is
Aye.
much more well-mannered than Tullio is, surprisingly enough. Sometimes I feel like Gildas is restraining himself from decking the nearest noble in the face.
That's Rinaldian in him, though.
I suppose. From what I've learned, perhaps it is.
Before we conclude this, though, I do have a subject I wish to broach to you. This is, he takes out a list. I have been interested in getting some specific wares. I'm trying to bring gifts to my family, you know this, of course. I already got gifts from the King's Stamp. If there's anything you'd recommend, of course, while we stay here, perhaps so I can bring home.
Oh, of course, there's plenty of things you could acquire here. The price might be a bit much, but I believe I could call a few favors, maybe lower the price to more reasonable grounds for you.
I would greatly appreciate it if you can write some down and we can speak of it. Later, we can do so. In the meantime, if Ophelia is going to be at the ball, he stands up abruptly. Then I need to seek her out and get her dress tailored and at once. I carry my noble clothes with me. I should assume that will be of suffice. Or perhaps after this conversation, one of your staff members has already made one.
Oh, I'm sure they
Presumably.
have. Though within the sitting room, they were not listening, as that was my humble request. She leans down, and you find that she has another teacup, which she begins stirring. You have no idea when it got there. However, after raising the teacup up, she quirks a brow and lifts the silver plate up a little bit, where you see there's a note on it.
Mm-hmm.
Seems Gildas and Ophelia are arriving shortly.
Marvelous. Well, then I will meet them at tomorrow and inform them of this bowl. As he begins to leave, he actually pauses. Lady Eleanor. I meant it, by the way. All appearances aside, I'm glad that in the transition between forms, nothing has changed.
Well, I'm glad that it alleviated any worries for you. And thank you for listening to me and speaking with me. I have not really explained my difficulties or frustrations to anyone before.
That is something I understand all too well. But if you ever need to seek me again, don't hesitate to do so. As such, we are here.
I appreciate it. And before you leave, she rises, placing the teacup down again, and walks over to the door, and essentially opens it for you. It's custom. You went into my sitting room, I should be the one to let you out.
I see.
To let yourself out would be scandalous.
Perhaps you'll teach me more of this high elf culture. It's quite fascinating.
I do not find it so, but if it's of interest to you, I would be more than happy to help you learn.
Then I will wait and see you later. Please take care.
Of course. I will take quite good care, as I have been taken well care of.
Yes, you have. And I want to make his exit with that.
Alright. So with Gildas and Ophelia, as you arrive at the Chrysanthemum Estate, you also see that the banquet table, has fresh, steaming hot food and cold drinks. You also notice that if you left without your boots on or anything like that when you walked into the main streets, your boots have been cleaned.
Why would you not wear your boots?
Because the
Okay,
city
now.
streets are clean, and trudging dirt through the city streets is a no-no.
But I have no sleepers. No, like, I'll just hear that and say, well, it seems like they have everything taken care of.
Ophelia nods, though she's looking in odd corners and places as if noticing something or curious of something in certain ways. Yes. The ways that the staff has handled is very interesting.
Speaking of which, we don't really ever see any servants. I mean, even when I went back to the cart earlier today, I saw no one.
Speaking of the cart, Gildas, when you returned this time, the cart was cleaned and the goods were all properly secured.
Yeah.
And the donkey had fresh food and water out.
Even cleaned the ass.
Another thing of note is that you saw Velisay just sitting on a literal pillow with apples just on a silver plate in front of him. And he was lounging like a king.
I just look at that, chuckling myself up. This is a change of pace from the noble stables. Oh yeah. Let's enter the estate proper. And away the news.
Alrighty. So, not too long after you leave Eleanor's room, Dawn, you can see both Gildas and Ophelia walking into the estate.
Welcome! It's good to see you both.
Darling.
Was your investment at the library as fruitful?
Oh, it was. I've managed to track down where the temple might be. And
Fantastic.
Ophelia makes for a good teacher. Not much I can say.
Ophelia simply gives you a quick but earnest nod. I'm glad to hear you think so. I feel as if it is something I have done before, but I do not quite remember why.
Roll history?
You don't need to, Delon. You know that the woman that you know of historically speaking as Ophelia Nightfield, she was a mother of Templars for multiple reasons, including being a hands-on teacher to teach a new age of healers and clerics.
Well, it's not unusual. You did teach many Templars and clerics in your time, your ladyship.
She tilts her head at that. Truly?
Yes. I've said it before, but you are a patron mother to the Templars. You are greatly respected, not in just the Hall of Heroes, but in the Templar Order itself. I'm glad that you were able to teach some things to Gildas. I'm glad you were able to find a location of the temple. It'll make things much easier. As for myself, if you procure my little book, I was able to study a few things on my own. A few magics about Dragonborn, but more importantly, I found a little bit more information on Sovereign, including a detailed map of the city.
Interesting.
Oh.
Wonder why they would have something like that.
I was curious as to it too. I'll also probably make a roll that also means that he probably knows how to read Elvish, which is something he hasn't really revealed. That's true. He hasn't really talked about that.
Right. I mean, yeah,
Something
actually,
else I must request, though, is are you fully aware that their documentations are incredibly biased? And
Oh,
a few
profoundly
of
so.
them are quite purposefully wrong?
Yeah, it's quite abhorrent. Not at all scholarly. But I was able to cipher. What information I gained, I was able to try to cipher from facts, despite the notations of saying otherwise of bias. But it was quite difficult at certain points. Some I just couldn't read at all. I could barely tell what was personal and what was fact.
That's good then. I would not wish for you to write down as notes false information.
Mm. Your concern is appreciated, Your Ladyship. Thank you.
Of course.
so you could read all this then.
Oh, yes, of course.
Ah, yes. I would argue about 95% of what was in this Temple of Knowledge was all written in Elvish. I hadn't really stopped to think about it until Gildos could not really seem to understand it.
Ah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. No, go.
on the one hand, I should be surprised that everything was in Elvish, but on the other,
Yes,
I
there.
would assume, seeing as there were a few humans, tabaxis, and all that, that there'd be at least a small section in common. I don't know. Perhaps. Maybe.
No, in most libraries aspect, even our own, there's libraries are meant for the common man as well, not just the skull. Although there are certain prints where certain information and rhetoric is handled with older language, requires a certain education. Those are usually esoteric novels of a certain nature that you would need to have already been informed or interested to really see.
As you
But I
say
was
this, Delon, Eleanor comes out, and she's wearing a flowing white gown. If you're asking why the library is entirely in Elvish, then you're right to assume that it's not necessarily for commoners. It is, but it's also not. It's one of the trappings here. If you don't speak or know Elvish, well then, we're not going to tell you. If you know, you know. If you do not, well then, well, you're clearly servant class. She has a very apologetic, almost sorry smile on her face when she says this.
I figured as much, but I didn't want to presume.
Oh no, you can feel more than happy to presume.
Delon actually says that, taking out his little book that he's writing, and he's just adding details about the High Elf City.
I mean, you don't have to be sorry about anything. I mean, I figured as much when I saw the other nobles near, laugh at my misfortune. But
oh, they did? I apologize then.
Oh, well, I mean, some other tried to, no, not even try, did trip me. Of course, I did try to, give back to him by falling with all my weight on his legs, but unfortunately he was quite sturdy. But
did you get the pin that he was wearing, if he was wearing one? Do you know what house he was from?
Did I?
You didn't. Notably, you
didn't
didn't
even
see
think
one
about
on
it.
his person.
No, I'll just shake my head and say no. I think I fell down too brutishly to notice anything. But
Unfortunate. That is an assault on my family name.
oh, speaking of your family name and you yourself, if you ever get a visit from a smith from the city, that might be because of me. See, I point to the chainmail I just I'm wearing right now. I made
Shalom is actually.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was like, oh, Dylan's like, I was going to ask, did you purchase this perhaps, or is this of your own make?
Oh, I made this, alright.
Really?
Just...
That might explain my 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, you see, I went by the marketplace. I was wondering how things worked, and I saw, well, the usual mithril armors and weapons and all that. And I boldly asked how these were made. And then, after a little back and forth, mostly using your name and our connections, I managed to essentially make a wager with my fellow smith that if I couldn't make something to the level of what he made within an hour, he'd be able to shit, what was the term again?
You would owe basically a favor to the Chrysanthemums and it would pull out. But if you won, you would get a chunk of mithril, which is high quality mithril.
Right, that was it, yeah.
And keep whatever you made.
Uh-huh. Well, that was more incidental, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
but
honestly
hey, man.
gave him that because he didn't want it in the store.
Right. So, essentially, if I lost, you would owe him a favor. But if I won, I get some mithril and in the end get what I made as well. And luckily, I've won. But
I
I
see.
must so come and see you to ask a few questions about myself, or rather, the mysterious smith that is engaged in a contract and who I am the servant of.
So Eleanor kind of like rubs her brow a little, and seems to be a bit not frustrated or bothered, but mildly annoyed. This would explain the demand for meeting with me at 4 o'clock tomorrow, just before the ball, to discuss a potential purchase of operations for 500 gold. Okay, I understand now. He values you at 500 gold, apparently.
I don't really know how to take having a price on my head, or rather.
Yeah.
Should I be flattered?
Well, he's willing to pay 500 gold for a human servant, and all that you can do, which is more than most would pay for you. However, I'm personally insulted, and he would only offer 500 gold for quite a high-tier smith.
Uh-huh.
Ah. He thinks you are a fool then.
He thinks that I am valuing Gildas as a mere human smith and nothing more. That is his misfortune. I think when I arrive at the ball, I will demand recompense for a slight on my family name and my family honor. Though really, I'm just more insulted that he would only pay 500 gold for you, Gildas.
And I must thank you for valuing me so high, then.
Of course. You've proven yourself to be quite invaluable. I value all of you quite highly.
Speaking of value in the bowl, I have convinced Lady Eleanor to invite us. The three of us will go in with her instead. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get to know the culture and the authenticity of the Hive, and, if I may say so, I just couldn't stand the thought of you going to an event like this all by yourself. It wouldn't be right to me as a knight to leave a lady in such a difficult trappings, especially when I promised the king that I'd make sure that you were all right. Not that I couldn't think you could handle yourself.
Yes, I assure you, though, Delon, I was more than willing and capable to handle myself at such an event. But I do appreciate the concern and the desire to show. She turns to you, Gildas and Ophelia. Yes, if you wish to come with us to the ball that I will be attending all of tomorrow, uh, you are allowed to attend. However, I must enforce something. Please do not get into too much trouble or cause too much of a spectacle, as if you do, I cannot bail you out as I would if you were to get locked in the stocks in the streets somehow.
I've never been to a ball, much less a noble one, and even less danced all in my life, so I suppose
Huh.
it's the first time to everything, and considering there's a potential event in King's Landing we could attend somewhere in the far future, now would be a good time as any to absorb some of the nobility around. Now, I'm not sure if high elves are a good example to follow, but at the very least it could be an example not to follow. So,
Hmm.
I'll be on my most capable behavior. Not the best, but what I can accomplish.
I
How
see.
much I can.
Well, I was hoping for your best behavior, but if it's your most accomplished skill is all you can offer me, then I will accept it. It's more than I could ever request of Tulio.
Hmm. And in the meantime, if you would like, I can teach you some steps and maneuvers. I'd be honored to do so, my friend. And of course, we'll have to get you tailored properly, assuming the Lady Eleanor's servants have not done so. Speaking of which, your ladyship, Ophel, Nightfield, I promised you a tailored gown, something that you could use, accustomed to get the current attire fixed. I would, if you would like to accompany to the market, I'm sure we can find you something.
If you desire and you think that now is a good time, we might leave now before the sun fully sets.
Aye, and I think there are no better seamsters than we, aside from King's Landing, than here. Plus, we can find it in remarkably good material. That way, it can be torn and repaired more easily.
Eleanor nods. Yes, the quality of tires here is actually extremely high. We have silkworms on hand here, so all the silk is fresh and the highest quality. If you're going to get a dress, do not worry about spending an unnecessary amount of money on it. Simply say that it is a dress made for myself and give them my measurements. They should fit Ophelia decently well.
I see. Thank you. Is this acceptable to Lady Nightfield?
It is most acceptable.
And then Delan gestures politely, saying, for her to, after all, ladies first.
Eleanor
We'll
will
be back shortly.
prepare to move, but she will extend her arm to you.
And he will, I suppose, just out of curiosity, is he behind or in front of him?
Essentially in step.
Instead. So she's extending her hand for him to take it and move her forward? Or she is... I'm just curious exactly.
So essentially you would, for all intents and purposes, lock arms with her, which her arm is clothed, so you wouldn't suffer any harm from it.
Perfect. Then he will do so. And he'll gently cradle her arm underneath.
Let's head for the silk stalls then.
Indeed. I will be back shortly to help you, my friend.
As they're heading off, Gildas, I believe there is likely to be something tailored to your size in your room. If nothing quite fancies you, or the threadings or the fabric or design does not fit your taste, simply let me know, and I'm sure the staff could acquire something more to your fashion.
I would love if Gilder's joked. He's like, "Oh, I have a room. I thought it was property." I mean, it's a legit question.
I mean, I would assume there would be some. I was about to say slave quarters.
You never know, right?
Servants' quarters.
Well, I'm sure there'll be in a variety. Sure, I'll get something else, but we'll look at Delon and say, and you better make me full head over heels for you by the end of the night.
You're saying that to Delon?
Yeah, referring to the dance moves and all that.
Okay. Challenge accepted, sir. I have max charisma. I'm going to be flaunting that all throughout this ball. I'm going to charm the shit out of these high elves.
Oh, I'm a flaunt my 10 charisma.
Yes, sir.
All
Get some converts. What is this about this Lady Bridget?
I see. It's all about how you strike the iron.
Alrighty.
Let's show you.
So, Delon, do you want to roleplay going out with Ophelia, or do you want to story mode it?
What do you think, guys? Should we just story mode it? Get to the ball?
I mean, all up to you. If you want to have like a little scene with Ophelia, then go ahead. But I don't mind.
I mean, I think you already had one with her that was quite good.
Right.
And we already kind of covered everything I wanted to cover before when I promised to get a dress. The only thing maybe at the end is after we finish getting the dress, like after we return, a quick maybe like Ophelia was quiet during it and she was just polite and they'd say like a final thank you for like the trouble, and that he Delon, what he promised he lived up to, like he didn't forget it. That was like, I don't know.
Alrighty.
I think that'd be fun. We can story mode it, and then when it comes back, we say that, and then onto the ball.
So you head out with Ophelia, and you enjoy yourself, and you actually notice that Ophelia kind of, if you go to hasten to the Silk Stall, she takes this purposefully scenic route, just enjoying the High Elf Citadel in the nighttime. Eventually, you acquire quite a good gown for her that is somewhat similar to the one that she has now, but more modern. It wasn't made on hand, however, but it was promised to be delivered in the morning. After giving Eleanor's name and mentioning that it was for her, they seemed to be extremely quick to want to get it done and do it with the highest grade. When you begin leaving, Ophelia again walks in step with you, simply taking a slow scenic path, and when you return, she unlocks her arm from you and gives you a simple bow. Thank you for taking me out.
Of course. Maybe you may have come to us in strange circumstances. But that does not mean you're not earned of dignity or respect of your former position, and of the one you are currently rising towards. He gives a polite nod and bow.
She returns it, and gives a rather gentle nod at that. It was quite nice to be taken out by a knight once more.
The honor was all mine.
I also appreciate that you... While I do not personally believe that I need it, or that the cost of such a thing is needed, I still appreciate that you stuck to such words and you did it with post-haste. Shows an excellent sign to your character.
I like to believe that my word is my bond. Do so otherwise would remove all honor and integrity in my appearance and self. And that just simply won't do for a night at King's Landing. Or is it Gillimae? Delon opens the door and gestures her forward.
She nods and steps into the room. However, she pauses at the doorstep, sort of hanging her cloak up a little. I do hope, dear knight, that eventually I can feel more at ease around all of you. Watching the theatrics and eccentricities of your group is... While I do not feel a warming in my chest, it is the closest I can say I feel to such a thing.
I would like that for you as well. You've more than earned it. Or, so to speak, should earn it.
She nods, and with that, the night comes to a close. In the morning, you find that Ophelia is actually up and about at essentially 4 in the morning.
Well, she doesn't have to sleep.
True. However, she did say she would be up well before dawn, and likely be gone before then as well.
Right.
Eventually, both you, Delon, and Gildas are disturbed as Ophelia knocks on your doors, waits for a moment, comes in, and she's already dressed to the nines.
Oh, Lord.
Why are you still sleeping?
The ball isn't till later this night, your ladyship.
That may be, however, we must be in attendance before the pre-celebratory period and the pre-ball. We also have pre-breakfast and pre-lunch, along with luncheon and breakfast.
I haven't started with my daily prayers yet, Ophelia. Till an hour away.
Well then, I suppose prepare for them in an hour and get finished with things as quickly as you can, and I will be a bit late to attendance.
Perhaps, if I may suggest, he says, rubbing his eyes, speaking to Lady Eleanor would be best, as she knows the customs of her people. Perhaps.
You are speaking to Eleanor right now.
Oh, it's speaking to Eleanor right now? Oh, shit.
Yes.
I thought you meant Ophelia.
No, it's Eleanor.
Yeah, me too.
No, it's Eleanor.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because you said Ophelia.
You said Ophelia.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
My apologies. You're speaking to Eleanor. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, because we're like, oh, Ophelia, oh, she didn't sleep, and she's ready. Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Eleanor
okay.
also doesn't really have to sleep, so...
At the same
Well,
time,
she's 4-hour trance.
I don't feel like Ophelia would be so distressed either, you know. Like,
No.
Exactly. That's where we're like
characteristic
confused.
of it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Now that we know that's not, and it's Lady Eleanor. Delon will actually then change a bit what he says. He hasn't done his prayers. Yes, just give me a moment. I was already half up to get to rise early. 30 minutes. I'll be up. Is it tailored now for full appearance, or half preparation, then full appearance later? And is Pauldron's required? You did not confirm that. He says that as if he's like slowly waking up.
You should come dressed up, but not to your highest degree. That will be saved for the dinner and the primary evening activities. However, you must come in the fine silks, likely the silk suits that should be in the closets by now, and make sure that you bring the high leather boots as well. We might go riding.
Of course. I will be there soon.
Pick a color that you find suitable. I'm sure they made several of the gowns in a multitude of colors. If you feel that you look like a peacock, that's the point. I'll be waiting. She gently closes the door, and you hear her footfalls walk with purpose down the halls.
Do you do that sort of thing back in King's Landing as well?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Probably outside the door.
Room, you know?
The same room or right across, like,
Yeah.
rooms? Right across
You're
each other?
basically in the same room with one bed on each side. So, like, one bed in the left, one bed on the right. And it's a decently
right.
large room, but, you know, it's large enough to have two different entire wardrobes, two different, like, sinks and all that.
It's a dual bedroom.
Yeah, essentially. It's also got two bathrooms and two baths in it, with a curtain over it, kind of a thing.
Good goodness. Delon goes, yeah, she thinks about it for a second. No earlier than the crack of dawn. Usually preparations don't start until 7, 8. Right when morning prayers have finished, and then breakfast is administered. You fast before that, of course. And then once that's solved, then you can have your morning meal. And then there might be an early jaunt of a gathering. Not this early. Goodness, don't they sleep in pausing for me? No, of course they don't. They trance.
That's what I don't get. The ball is tonight. Why haven't it started now?
Consider it on the extended timetable, my friend. He taps him on the shoulder. We're just being early than usual. Follow my lead. We'll have plenty of time. And of course, I'll explain maneuvers in the meantime. I hope the elves will understand. High elves will understand that. No, that'll be fine. Fine. Right.
Oh, I just show me, I'll follow. Right now, I just need to.
Of course.
I haven't woken up this early since my grandpa was still alive. Jeez.
Yes, I think a cold shower would be for best now. Sure hope they have some of that connected to keep you awake.
So after you begin bathing and preparing yourselves, when you leave the bath, you actually find that there's steaming tea and some light breakfast out in the room.
Oh. Delon's actually going to do something. He's going to just quickly take out a little note and say, "Thank you," and he's going to write it where the plate was. You get to do so last time. This time he's actually going to thank the staff. Can't see you, but it's being improper not to thank them.
Excellent.
Also, Delon has because he's a minor lord, he has more personal connection with his servants. So
yes, he does.
The idea of they're neither seen nor heard is, even though they're paid well, kind of hurts his soul a bit. It's like there's a certain level of Downton Abbey, but they're still human. They're beings, of course. Thank you.
True. Yes, the way King's Landing handles their servants is a lot more personal.
Yeah. They're not just like magic objects like a Beauty and the Beast castle.
The magic vending machine that provides what I want that I don't see.
Exactly. Print.
But alrighty. So with that, you and Gildos prepare what is needed. And when you leave, you find that Eleanor is standing in the main eating area. Essentially, she's tapping her foot and checking a pocket watch, which she occasionally puts away under her sleeve. You notice that she's wearing a bit of it's still an extravagant silk gown, but it has pockets for like her pocket watch and a few other things, like in like her books and all that. It also is clearly a little hardier despite being silk, as she's also wearing leather riding boots and leather light riding gloves. Her hair is also done up in a bit of a ponytail. A very extravagant, regal one, but a ponytail all the same, to keep it up and out of the way. She's also wearing a feathered hat that sits, a big poofy hat that sits on her head with a large plumed feather. Meanwhile, her entire garb is pink. By the way, what color would you want your silk garbs to be?
Delon, his regular garbs, nice silk garbs, are red, because it's red and white. But I imagine they wanted a more sublime color, they'd probably go with blue.
Blue?
It matches against his white, yeah.
Alright, so within the wardrobe, you would have found a blue silk garb, like a silk suit of some sort.
Goodness.
And you, Gildas, what are you wearing? What color are you wearing?
Honestly, for the heck of it, I was going to say pink for the pink tribe, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, no, that wouldn't be really good problem. So,
Green, maybe?
What did you say?
Green for the
I said
orcs? Orcs and
I
goblins?
was thinking like some dark green kind of
Like a forest green.
Like maybe green, blue green,
Or
something
down.
like that. Yeah. Something in the blue. Like, yeah, you know what? Maybe like some lighter blue for the morning, and then like some more.
So
No,
something teal in the morning.
Lighter green in the morning. Yeah, deeper. Much deeper in the night.
Alrighty.
You know.
I will say, all the colors are very loud and in your face.
Oh well, let's make it apple green for the morning then.
Alrighty then.
No, it's all right.
When Ophelia is actually standing next to Eleanor, and she is wearing a similar dress to Eleanor, though hers is notably bright purple, like extremely light purple, and she has a veil over her head that is bright purple, but with blue streaks and some gems dotted around it. Notably, despite the extravagance of the dresses, they're mostly simplistic. No unnecessary frills or anything like that. Extremely showy, but practical at the moment. When you come in, Eleanor actually walks over to you both and slightly adjusts any ties or all that and kind of pats you down a little, adjusting how you look here or there a little. Excellent.
Oh, come on.
excellent.
I should at least be, like, pretty damn good.
Oh, you are. It's just Eleanor.
She's being very neurotic
Yes.
and finick about it.
Excellent. Alright. So, we are running a little behind schedule, but we are currently classified as fashionably late, which is not the standard for the chrysanthemums, but we have been known to do it when it pleases us. Now, there should be horses out front. Dylan, you of course will be riding Velisay. Ophelia, you will be riding with me, and Gildos, there will be a horse as well provided for you. We will ride with myself leading, followed very closely by Ophelia. And in step with Ophelia will be Delon and Velisay. Behind them, you will be riding Gildos, and we will be in a 1-2-1 formation. Understood?
Uh-huh.
Excellent.
Understood.
Ophelia nods. I understand. Good. Now then, we will ride into the glade, and which we will likely begin hunting.
Hunting.
Yes. Afterwards, it is very likely we will stop for breakfast and tea. And then I will break from you all for my business transactions before it, and we will reconvene once we have finished hunting and begin heading back to the city for the ball proper.
I see.
And if you need anything, do not hesitate to ask the staff on hand, as you will be going as my entourage. So if you have a need, the staff shall provide it. Do you have any questions?
Well, what are we hunting with to begin with? I guess.
Oh, we will be hunting. Well, that's part of the beauty of the psalm. It's not the hunt as in you specifically know it. We're not wielding any weapons or instruments. We're gathering around on horseback, riding as our servants will be doing the hunting for us.
Pardon?
Oh, we ride and we drink and we chat and we laugh, and our servants, with their foxes or hounds, will chase after the hunt, and whoever's lordship brings back the most prey from the hunt is deemed the successor, and we all raise a toast.
Delon actually puts his fingers on his brow, like in a pinching motion. You don't even hunt with things.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
But
Yes,
nothing's
even
stopping us from doing the smart thing and helping the servant, is there? I mean,
No, not necessarily, except the jibes and the scorn of your peers.
mean-
well,
well, mm,
Do not worry, it's an esteemed position. The masters of the hunts. They look forward to the hunts every time there has one. They take care of the dogs and the hounds, and they're the ones who stabled and provided our horses, and they will be leading each individual group's hunt. It's a very organized affair.
I'm sure it is. Blanks for a moment, looking around as if in thought. I'm sure about I liked it. Wherever he is.
I have heard from some of my staff that Bub went off and exited the Citadel and then went into the Spirit Glade, and he's been there since.
I guess I hope William doesn't hunt Sir Bob.
We do not hunt in the Spirit Glade, do not worry.
The Leslie actually just gives like a.
Well
Good.
done.
Things haven't changed.
That's a way.
Suddenly defined. They didn't all decide to be goddamn degenerates.
No, they don't hunt in the Spirit Glade. That's against the rules.
Come on, boys! We want some new game. We're gonna hunt the Spirit Glade. And the spirits are like, wait, what?
No, nothing quite like that. But alrighty, Eleanor leads you all to your horses, which you all mount them, and then Eleanor does a head count and kicks off as you all begin trotting along the path quite easily, and at a rather brisk but nice pace. Eventually, she leads you all to an area, and you see several small parties on horseback, some servants walking around beneath the people on horseback with raised trays with food and drink on them, and there's a lot of laughter, carrying on, and the like, as most of these figures on horseback are wearing similar big frilled hats and like big loud gowns. Funny enough, you can see them a mile away due to the colors of their gowns. Delon, it's starting to be incredibly apparent why they don't participate in the hunt.
Yeah, they literally couldn't do it. What a sad state of affairs.
You just can see them a mile away due to the pinks, golds, yellows, bright reds, purples, blues, oranges, all of that. Very few earthen colors. Even the greens are too loud to be completely blend in with the environment.
because they're afraid to get dirty. Yeah.
Once you all arrive, Eleanor brings you all to a halt, and the horses all kind of circle, and a servant kind of grabs the reins a little and kind of slows you all down, leads you into the group. Oh, Eleanor, darling. One lady rides her horse up, and Eleanor and her do a point of doing air kisses to each other's cheeks. Hello, Nan. How long has it been? About, what would you say it's been a decade since my last hunt? Oh, darling, of course it's been at least a decade. Far too long, far too long. Oh, no doubt the feast we'll have tonight after the hunt will be the most supple. Indeed, indeed. But where are my manners then? These are my entourage, these are my acquaintances, and also my current new, esteemed, and very exotic property. This is the one that I have dubbed Delon, this one is the one I have dubbed Gildas, and this one is an especially exotic creature who I'm afraid she does not do well in the light. Do not worry, she is not a drow. She simply does have sensitivity to such things, and I have named her Ophelia. Ah, what wonderful names, and how kind of you to grace them with the like. Ah, indeed, you have quite a shining specimen. Oh, is that a white dragonborn? Good golly. Oh, is that an old human? Oh, you're so kind to take an old human and give him so much privileges and kindness in your state. Yes, the chrysanthemums do love to take those downtrodden and give them opportunities. Oh, so I've heard. Indeed, I've heard about your investments in this old downtrodden smithing. Ah, yes, the word's gotten around already. Indeed. Well, I can't tarry too long. I have other boys and men to dabble with. I do love me a good hunt. Oh, yes, good luck on the hunt, Nan. To which the old, clearly, already tipsy high elf begins riding off towards a huddled group of, well, both in their prime and extremely rich, high elf men. Eleanor, does a very good job of hiding a sigh, and just, looks back at you all. Well, go ahead and mingle. I'll be mingling, of course. We likely won't be hunting any for the next hour or so. We are enjoying ourselves before then.
Ah. Is it? Then we are allowed. Are we allowed to use our names? Of course. Oh. The names you bestowed upon us, Lady Eleanor.
Oh yes, of course you may use the names that I so graciously provided you.
Absolutely, so gracious of you.
Indeed. She has the most, like, pained smile on her face as she says indeed. When you said that we were going to be masquerading as peacocks, I did not take it literally. Oh, Ophelia, it is quite literal, I'm afraid. But, do not forget, smile! We're all on good terms, and we're having a lovely time.
Indeed.
As you see a group of nobles look up and raise their glasses to Eleanor. Eleanor! Ah, Deborah! She rides her horse over to the group.
That's gonna take some time to get used to. Wow.
I'm from nobility, and this is even a little too much.
I was expecting a mountain to climb, but that's Valpyrian.
Ophelia looks around, and sort of adjusts the veil atop her head. Well, I am not opposed to wearing such gowns. It is a bit heavy.
Unfortunately, I think this to hide your visage.
Yes, I believe so as well. Luckily, I think I can attempt to probe a few specific questions from some of the older gentlemen here. I can clearly tell some of these elves are thousands of years old. Perhaps they know some things that I might be interested in.
Then do so.
Ophelia nods and begins riding over.
Well, just leaves you and me.
Yes, you and me.
So as you're looking around at everything Gildas and Delon, you both see a elven gentleman riding over on a very well taken care of unicorn. He rides over and he has
Fucking
the
unicorn.
most curled mustache you've ever seen, Gildas. And you remember that mustache as he's the one that you conned the mithril from. He raises a glass to you, and simply looks down at you. His unicorn being slightly taller than your horses. I look forward to our continued workings in the future, dear boy.
Oh, of course, of course. I heard, and I say, it is an honor to be valued so highly by yourself. Truly.
Indeed, I did put quite a reasonably high price on you. I do say if I can pull Eleanor away from these all, I think I would like to get in good contact with her. If you might be interested, I guarantee you would get an entire forge to yourself, perhaps even a small house, if we can arrange things properly. If that isn't of interest to you, perhaps you would be interested in allowing me some sort of alone time with Eleanor in the future. If you can help arrange it, dear boy.
I mean, can arrange a lot of things, but I'm afraid I cannot arrange the impossible as of now.
Alas, even miracles cannot be performed by one of the most promising smiths that I've seen in some time.
Well,
He can pump out Mithril Chain Vest in an hour, but he cannot create miracles, I'm afraid. Well then, enjoy yourselves, dear boy. And of course, you too, you exotic shining specimen, you.
right.
To which his horse just rides off without a word, without him kicking it, without him pulling on any reins. He's actually not even sitting on a saddle. He's just sitting on the back of a unicorn that just marches around.
A poor unicorn.
Right. A unicorn, of course. I choose the people well, really. People I deal with.
So, now that you all are at the hunt, what would you like to do? There's a lot of people mingling currently.
Uh-huh. Clearly, I'd have had, you would have, but since we're not allowed to. Oh, it's like. Oh. Let's see what kind of groups we can mingle with, honestly. Well, let's over here. Let's over here first. See, is it. Follow them or vain.
So as you begin riding about a bit to try to overhear some of the conversations, nobody here is quiet. Everyone's quite loud. And Gildas, you and Delon, as you're riding about, easily are able to overhear that the main source of conversation is actually Eleanor herself, and also her exotic consorts, is what they call you. You notice that they are very curious as to what you all must provide for her that deems that you are her personal property. Some of them seem to question whether she's into an exotic type of courtship, mainly in regards to you, Delon. Others are curious if she likes collecting strays. And others still are curious about perhaps perhaps you all provide something else, in some fashion. They are curious. They mentioned that Yorm is it's like they'd never expect a dwarf to be such a good ranger. So indeed, he's brushing shoulders with our men and in Citadel himself. He's been palling around with them like a good soldier. Indeed, perhaps he might be worth trying to purchase in some way. There's some of them mentioned that Yorm is like like an example to his people, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And their regards of Bob is more confused. Is he really a druid? No way. Absolutely preposterous. A kobold. A little blue kobold. A scrawny one at that, being a druid. He's so small. He's so small I worry that I would step on him. If he walked between my legs, I might crush him. Others still discuss Tulio, and all of them mention and will put a hand on their coin purse when they talk of him. There's something about him, the way his eyes look. Have you noticed his gaze? It falls immediately onto every valuable on my person. It makes me uncomfortable. It's like you can see what's underneath my garb. Oh, don't worry, darling. We can all see under your garb. Oh, shush you! The one interesting piece of conversation comes not from the nobility, but from the leaders of the hunt, who you notice are all wood elves.
Of course.
One of them is talking about her protege. I haven't seen him back in some time. Last I was at the village, I was helping him learn how to wield bladed scimitars. He's a crafty little bugger. Honestly, he means so well, and he's so hardworking. I just can't say no when he wants to learn something new. Really, that little thing? He's a hearty little kobold, but is he really worth investing all that time into? Oh, absolutely he is. He's precious, and he's more than made up for it with all the food he's provided for the village. Indeed, he's a staple of the hunt. Honestly, I would not be surprised if in a few years, perhaps a decade, if he lives that long, that he could definitely be a leader of a hunt in his day. What was his name again? You must forget my product. His name is Snacks.
Oh. Hear that, Dannon? It's like we got an old acquaintance around these parts.
But yeah, all of the masters of the hunt have a horse. They're actually standing on the dirt, and they're all decked out in actual ranger attire. They all have bows, blades on their person, nets, and the like, and they hold the reins of their horses, and they have a few foxes and the like near them. They're much more down to earth and camaraderie to each other than the high elves are.
Thorn's actually gonna approach him. Fuck it.
Alright, so you ride over to the wood elves, and as you begin riding over, they all immediately look up, and one of them speaks up first. Ah, hello, Dragonborn. What brings you over to our neck of the woods?
Nothing. Just wanted to pursue pleasant conversation with the men actually presiding over the hunt.
Well, you found the right group. In fact, if you want pleasant conversation, you couldn't be in the wrong neck of the woods if you tried. You've got plenty of pleasant conversation to go about. After all, we're all from some neck of the woods here, aren't we? Very much so, indeed. Aye.
That's so. So how goes the hunt, gentlemen?
One of them, an old, bristled-looking elf, who looks like he's seen his fair share of just scuffles, chips up. Oh, It's been going decently well. Well, we're not hunting yet, but from what we're seeing in the woods and our scouting, we've seen quite a good amount of stuff. There's definitely some bears, some great fowl to be had, some boars out there. Just about anything that the high elf nobility could want.
I'm not sure there's enough. There's enough food in the enough game in the forest for what the high elf nobility wants.
Oh, there's plenty of game for them. They don't actually eat that much. Another what elf chips in, just kind of like looking about, almost conspiratorially. Yeah, in fact, they only eat the fatty, juicy parts. They don't eat anything else tough or stringy.
What is it? If I may ask, gentlemen, what do you preside over? You live in the city, of course.
You're asking them what they preside over in the city?
Yeah, like, you guys live in the city, right? Like, I have basically walked up and down this damn city, and I haven't seen men like you.
Oh, as you say that, they all kind of blink for a moment, and then they all kind of chuckle. In the High Elf City? No way. No, we live dotted around here and there in the woods. You know, where we belong. High elves shouldn't be dotted around in cities and great towers.
Forgive me. So you're telling me, if I'm correct in understanding, that the high elf who are now strutting about on horses in a game of hunt preside safely behind a city of immaculate beauty, blending with nature as if it's one being, and the men who are actually capable of doing the hunt provide just sporadically in the woods.
They all kind of like look around for a moment and gesture for you to get a little closer.
Mm-hmm. I do so.
Aye. They're rich snobby types, but they pay well.
I see. And we're not closest to, of course. But as a son of a noble family, this is quite upsetting to me. This is not how it should be. Wealth should be shared, especially for those who are committing to the act of feeding those.
One of the female hunters just kind of raises a hand at you. Hey, don't worry yourself over it. Whatever is made in excess, we bring that to our village. And they get what they want. They get the cream of the crop, and we get everything else. And they don't really know what cream of the crop is sometimes. It's not the meat sometimes. It's how you prepare it. Besides, we like hunting, and if they want to pay us more than what we're really doing is worth, then why are we to stop them? No, they can live in their towers and completely distance themselves from what they're supposed to be, and we can enjoy ourselves.
Delon is like silent for a moment, and then he would stay quiet, but something in him just utters almost just absentmindedly. But isn't that immoral?
One of the younger male hunters tilts his head at you. Immoral? How so?
You have done right by your service, and you've done right by yourselves. Why should I am noble, but because a noble in stock has not entitled you to your position. Nobility is in your deeds, in your character. You've been put in a position. You should not just simply stay and sit and devour while others do the work. It's an exchange. You've been put on the stand for others to welcome, so that you may help in your position. Going fat on a stand in a tower, it's immoral. It lacks all morality.
They kind of like look around and they lower their voices a little. It's not that bad, really. Trust us. If we're more than happy for them to self-isolate themselves away from us all. If they ever decide to truly live amongst nature like they're supposed to, and really step down from their high horses, then we'll welcome them back in open arms, but it's really not that big a deal. I mean, if they want to do what they want to do, who are we to stop them? Besides, the heart of the forest will inevitably make sure that those who truly live the way they're supposed to are rewarded in time.
The heart of the forest.
Indeed. You don't need to worry about such things. They're hoity-toity types, yeah, but being iresome or angry towards them is no real reason to be that way. The only people who hold that much ire towards what they do are drows, and honestly, the drows would be so much happier if they just let the high elves do what they do. They're not harming us in any way. They're not taking from us. If anything, they just pay us more than what the job is worth.
Fascinating. Delon actually, he just sees a bunch of them, and he sits erect, and he gently gives like a esteemed clasp on his shoulder, and he bows politely. You honor me with your dedication.
They all kind of look confused. Dedication?
You are dedicated to your way of life, and dedicated to your life. You do not envy others, and you uphold your own sense of morality and conviction. You inspire me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, think nothing of it. Or just living the best lives we could.
I'm gonna roll fucking persuasion, or whatever it is that I can show off a little shine, because these people deserve it.
Oh, you could roll persuasion for it.
Instead?
Oh, you could roll persuasion or performance. I think performance if you're kind of like attempting to, like showcase like an emotion or something like that would reach them more, would work. Persuasion would be more akin to if you were trying to convince them of something.
It's not really trying to convince them of anything. It's more like you have moved me. You inspire me. That is, and I want to inspire you in kind.
I'd say go ahead and roll performance then. That would work.
Alright. 23.
Very nice.
An 18 plus 5. So he just gives them a smile, proud one. He stands upright, shows them just the depths of it. They can see a faint, just warm and proud smile on his lips as he does so, and he bows gently. He can tell that he's been inspired by them, and that he hopes that this expression also inspires them.
You see, as they all give you kind of a nod, and one of them, the leader of the hunt, seemingly like the one who's been talking the most, she was the one that was talking about snacks. She just throws a flagon at you, like a flask of something. Here, Dragonborn, catch.
He does so.
Have some fresh wine on us.
Thank thee.
And if you're ever in the neighborhood for some actual enjoyment, without the hoity-toity looking down on you types, pop over to the Wood Elf Village, alright? We love people like you.
Thank you. And he leans forward. You mentioned a man named... Now that I have attention. You mentioned someone named Snacks.
Oh, you interested in my little protege?
Is he safe?
I can't say. I haven't seen him in a while. I sent him out to go hunt another big game, as he just keeps demanding to hunt something bigger every time, so I sent him off on his way, as I tend to. He's never come back empty-handed, so I thought it would be fine, but I haven't heard from him in a few months. He's been gone for maybe about a month and a half, going on 2. Not unusual, but usually he sends something back. A little squirrel with like a nut, or a little squirrel with something showing where he's at.
Delon says earnestly, on our travels here, I briefly spied who I believe to be Snacks, in the clutches of a red dragonborn.
At the mention of a red dragonborn, several of the hunters frown. Surtur?
Hmm.
The lead woman marches up to you a little bit.
Mhm.
You telling me that blackguard Surtur's got his claws gripped around my little Snacks?
Unfortunately, he seemed to be gesturing, or at least holding on to him as he pointed in directions. I don't know what it was about, but I was alarmed to see Snacks in such a position.
How dare he? Doesn't he know that Snacks is under my tutelage? Well, I'm gonna have to have a firm talking with the elders when I get back so that we can see about revoking his private privileges to land. If he's just gonna circumvent our people like that, what on earth would make him think that he could just manhandle my Snacks like that?
I'm sorry it's come to that, but you were so kind to me I thought I wanted to bring it up.
Oh no, I appreciate it. I won't lie, I've been a bit worried about the little fella. He's so exuberant, and I can't help but worry sometimes he's just gonna get in over his head. But he's never done so since. He's always come back, even if battered, scraped up, and bruised, he's always come back successful. So I didn't really think much of it.
In any case, I wish you luck in the hunt, and you wouldn't happen to be able to point your village on a map, would you?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't know where it is, it's right about here. She just immediately reaches into her pouch and takes out a map, and just points immediately where it is. We welcome all who come in.
Go ahead.
We welcome all who come in. Feel free to show up if you want, and we'll show you a great time. And don't let the young lass and ladies freak you out, alright? They mean well.
As you wish. It's a good hunting. He raises up his flag and he will make his way. Go just chat with people.
You're probably tired.
I am. That's true. I was like thinking like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have like your pleasant conversation. I'm gonna have like an unpleasant conversation. So like, what I want to do is like, yeah, I have to mingle with the noble. So I'm just gonna like sneakily join a random group, like, honestly, like, see how long it takes for them to, you know, actually notice me, or like, what's to do, like, with the well, what they end up talking about.
Alrighty. So make me a stealth roll if you're trying to join them sneakily. We'll see how long it takes them to notice you.
Well, I am not wearing my heavy armor now, so. Oh, hold on, isn't there like something to check now? Or rather uncheck?
You could just roll it, and we'll take the higher of the two.
Stealth roll, well, no.
So you get a 7. Luckily, it's not a nat one. You get a 7. So they're just talking amongst each other, and you ride over, and you begin kind of listening in on their conversation as you get mingle amongst them. They're talking and talking, and you notice very quickly, Gildas, that they have noticed you, and they are purposely ignoring you. They are refusing to bring you into conversation, but they're still talking in common. Indeed, nothing's worse than a vagabond who won't catch a hint. Precisely. Oh, I had this one servant once. He would leer on me in the bath and insist he was only trying to help. As if I needed help bathing myself. I just needed him to lay out the clothes and bring in the scented glades and then leave. No. He kept wanting to wash me or help me in some way. Dedication, he called it. No, indeed. No, nothing is worse than a servant who can't take a hint. Yes.
Assholes.
No servant should ever exist in a place where they are not wanted.
Indeed.
Out of curiosity, is there gonna become points in this ball where they're just gonna like, and your morality is questioned by something will you say something, or are you just gonna let that hurt your morality alignments?
So, do you say indeed in character?
Yes.
So a
course
few
I
of
do.
them look over at you and frown at you. Oh, I'm sorry. When did you get here?
How about the same time you started talking about misbehaving servants, I wager? Yes.
Oh, how coincidental, indeed.
Oh, I
What
just
about
wanted
you?
to
What do
hear.
you say? Do you think a servant overstepping their bounds and talking too much to their betters is a bad thing?
I mean, there's something to be learned from either sides, really. Perhaps the servant has some insightful comment to make sometime.
I
But-
highly doubt that.
Oh, how can you know if you never listen, right? I mean,
What is there to listen to? Oh, this is going to be interesting. Yes, Armand, what is there to listen to?
uh-huh. Well, perhaps, taking the example of you washing yourself, perhaps he has a method of actually showing you how to reach your back without straining your shoulders or something. You know, perhaps something inconsequential you wouldn't have thought of, but that is incredibly useful in day-to-day life. The simple details you might overlook because, as you say, you are my better. But sometimes looking a bit too high makes you miss what's at the bottom.
One just simply takes a long drink and places it immediately on a tray, grabbing another one. And if it's on the bottom, then it's where it belongs. Aye. After all, what's on the bottom are the scraps, and the sweetest fruit is at the highest part of the tree. If a fruit's fallen to the bottom, it's rotting.
There are the roots at the bottom. Therefore, without what's at the bottom, there wouldn't be any fruit at all.
That is a good point, Gerard, don't you think? I do, Armand. I think that's a great point. Yes, but what about the branches? They feed the life down to the roots. And if not for them, there would be no roots to even nutrient.
Right. But then, the fruit grows, then falls down to the ground. But from that fruit that's at the bottom, sprouts something new. Correct. So we still return to the bottom. That
Indeed,
is
the top
beginning of
gives
everything.
down to the bottom, so that they can give back to the top. Yes, Ave? Indeed. Oh, most generous of the tree, to give something down to the roots again. I'm afraid we've got our new guest rather tongue-tied.
No, I'm just thinking. I mean, after all, I've never really got the perspective of the high elves, you know? After all, when did high elves become high elves, right? What were they before?
Well, we were always high elves, and we were always higher. Indeed. We came first, you see. We were one of the first races brought. But I wouldn't imagine a human like yourself to know such things, so allow us to enlighten you, dear boy. Yes, high elves were among some of the few first, more core elemental races brought into the world by the lovely gods and goddesses. Indeed, they thought that since we were some of the first, we were to be gifted the most graces and bounties, as is our privilege and right, as something that has been on this place for quite some time. And later, as we were mingled and we deviated from certain paths, we found ourselves spliced and divided into wood elves, and those who fell farthest from grace. Well, we don't speak about them. Yes, they lived in the swamps after all. Savages, them.
Now then, I would like to make a religion check, Marshall, to see actually. Well, I mean, there's something in the creation thing as well, but just to make a point of knowing which races were actually created first. I assume, yeah.
So you can make a
some-
religion check. You'd have advantage because it's a religion check.
Right. That's a
17. Alrighty. So with the 17, Gildos, you know that they're telling the truth. Elves are one of the oldest races in Canes. They've been around for a very long time. They are believed to have even preceded dwarves, who are also been around for a very, very long time. However, an interesting thing is that nowhere in the creation story has it specified high elves came first, simply elves. And elves are not the very first race to be brought blessed to the world, but they are among the first.
Right. So we'll say, which is weird that you tell me this, because as far as I know, there never was anything like a high elf or wood elf or drow until much later in our creation story. And not only that, elves weren't just first. No, they were not first. They were among the first, meaning elves came with other races. So
They sip their drink slowly, listening, and one of them turns to you fully, now seeing that, I imagine even in your silk garb, somewhere on your person, you have probably a symbol of Bridget with you.
right, yeah. I mean, I would say I'll bring my holy symbol, but like my holy symbol is my whole smithing tool, so that's kind of.
You could have the smithing tools on a satchel bag on your horse if you wanted. That would
Right,
be
let's do
acceptable as you're known as a smith already.
Right, let's do that then.
Alright. So one of them turns to you fully, and their eyes fall on your satchel bag with your smithing tools in it. And then they look back up at you. Well, if I didn't know any better, we'd have a holy man amongst us.
What do we do?
One of them takes a long sip of wine and just places it behind him on a tray, and then grabs another glass, which he swirls a bit. Indeed. Well then, we have an expert. Tell us, indeed. Tell us more of the past that you know so much about.
Right. And I shall relish you with tales of it. To my best DM allowed capacity. Let me tell you about your country.
Alrighty, so make a religion check to see how good you do at regaling them with information.
Advantage still or no?
You can
Yes,
do
I'd say advantage. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, 25. Crit. You crit that shit.
So not only are you going to be able to impress them with this, I'll allow with a religion check of 25 to tell them more now that you have their attention. If you want to say something truly scandalous that they all know but they never say.
Oh yeah, no, I had something in mind. Don't worry. I mean, I was going to bring up, I was like, if I bring it up, Eleanor's gonna give me the stink eye, because like it's not something you say. But I was going to say, if elves are so great, why is it that the human kingdom of King's Landing is the most well known and the most, propagated, the one talked in legends and all, whereas the High Elf City is just some obscure little hamlet in the deep of the savage lands. Well, unless you were high elf yourself, you wouldn't even know it exists. Just some passing rumors.
A few of them kind of flare up their shoulders at that, kind of standing up more upright. Also, another thing that I will tell you that you know, Gildos, is that so you wouldn't know this because 25 in religion, but I'd say you would be able to have read about this somewhere. Probably more as a rumor or something like that, but not known as full truth or not. But you would be able to know that among high elf culture, or among the elves, the real elves that came first were the drow. But that's a dirty rumor. That's believed to be slander. I'd say probably a traitor would have told you about it and said never mention it among the high elves. But as you mentioned that the King's Landing is so much grander than their elven citadel, one of them looks at you dead in the face, Gildos. Well, the reason why the King's Landing is known so far and wide is because they do not understand the importance of exclusivity and keeping out the rabble. The reason that you worry so much about our grandiose is exactly what makes our city so grand in the first place. Of course only high elves would know where to look for it. They're the only ones worthy of being in it. King's Landing, meanwhile, dirties its streets with commoners.
How loud is he saying this?
If you wanted, you could hear it. They're not overly quiet.
I will choose to hear this. I have a flagon in my hand of wine. I'm sorry, what now?
So you ride over and you basically say like, I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah. Forgive me. I'm sorry, what now?
I said that King's Landing is more common than the High Elf Citadel precisely because they let the rabble in. This clergyman has the audacity to say that High Elf City is inferior because nobody knows about it. He does not understand the importance of a members-only club. He does not understand the importance of exclusivity.
Delon just like stares at him. It's not dumbfounded. It's very just it's like it's absolute disappointment. The fact that you even believe this. And he shakes his head, he takes a small swiftle of wine, and he goes, forgive me if this might sound a bit rude, but everything you just said is incorrect.
Oh, is that so?
It is. I can give you empirical evidence. Curiosity, do you have a place in your the High Elf City that, of course, in its immaculate beauty, honors heroes or those who have done greatly to create such a opulent and imperial-looking?
Of course we have a High Elf Citadel. And of course, in the Citadel, there is precisely honorifics to honor all of the grandest, most extravagant, well-reaching families who have helped establish the way that it is.
Phenomenal. And in those families, are they all High Elf, by chance?
Of course.
See. And in doing so, that is why you are incorrect. Because you fail to realize the few truly basic aspects of what makes a kingdom great. It's not your own ability to be superior to others. It is what's made that kingdom. It's the people.
Right.
Clearly, Eleanor isn't keeping you around for your talking rights. There must be some other thing you have to offer her that she keeps you around for.
Oh, my friend has a good point. After all, shouldn't you be honoring the first elves as well, not just high elves?
Whatever do you mean? Of course, the high elves are the first elves.
No.
As you
correct.
say this, several people lower their drinks and narrow their eyes at you, Gildas.
He's technically correct, though. He is technically correct. Not all. There was elves before high elves.
Right.
They were just elves.
So as I said, I only said elves came first, not high, nor wooden, nor the one I really want to bring up, but I shouldn't. If you know
Let's
what
give
I
you brownie
mean.
points. So they don't exist.
Yeah, no, like I'm this close to actually dropping the bomb.
I
Like,
know.
there's something I want to say, but I'm
Yeah.
like, best behavior.
So a lot of the high elves put their drinks down on silver trays and kind of dab their lips with handkerchiefs, which they fold up very specifically while staring at you all. And then they tuck them away and pull on the reins of their horses. I do believe the hunt is beginning soon. Yes, I believe it's spinning in about 15 minutes. Let's prepare for the hunt.
Alright. We should.
Right.
As they ride off and they keep mentioning that they're preparing for the hunt, Gildos, you can see that the Wood Elf hunters down over in their corner are kind of chuckling amongst themselves and rolling their eyes. They just find your entire exchange with them amusing.
I just nodded there. Well, turn to Helen and say, I was this close to say that if being unknown was what made a city grand, then shouldn't the Drow city be even grander? Considering nobody knows where it is.
Exactly.
Or to access it even.
Exactly. But no, they won't hear of it.
I mean, you know what you say. Well, that's why I didn't. But I was this close. But it'd be too early for that.
Yes. Let's save that for the boar itself, my friend.
Oh, indeed.
So, as you're talking amongst yourselves, Eleanor pulls her horse over to you all. And leans down to whisper, "What on earth are you doing? I'm over here trying to play nice, and you're over here making a scene."
With all due respect, Eleanor, he made the scene for us. And if I'm also being well respected, Eleanor, if he ever talks of King's Landing in such a manner of beguiling intelligence, I will challenge him to a duel, and I will win. I'd love to see him get off his fat. And he almost pulls himself back. To say, in any case, it has been resolved. No issue has been found. And the hunt has begun.
It was just a debate according to customs. Well, we'll see that. Yeah.
Indeed.
You're going to make me go gray.
Are we ahead of you?
Nonsense, Eleanor. So tell her. You still are, is it? Your hair still shines quite brightly. I don't think it would matter if you got a few in there.
Cease your flirting right now. There's already a bad enough rumor going on about us.
I'm not flirting.
That's not what it looks
But
like.
he actually looks puzzled. Actually looks. Is that flirting? I'm not flirting, am I?
Not per se, but it looks like it.
Throw enough compliments, and yes, rumors will.
I see.
be
So they
rumors.
are still like this. Fair enough. I retract everything I said. You're ugly and intolerable to look at, for ladyship.
Well, I never. So
Go on,
she
just
seems
keep thinking
legitimately
why.
offended for a moment before, like, her brain actually catches up and she knows what you're doing, but she just shakes her head and rides off. Behave.
He's just chuckling to himself as he's downing wine.
Alrighty. So, after all is said and done, you'd see as all of the nobles kind of line up with their hunter, essentially. Their hunter seems to whisper something to them. Even Eleanor seems to have a hunter here. You notice that Eleanor's hunter is actually the woman who mentioned she was training snacks. Thank you for showing up. Of course, of course. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Eleanor. You gotta watch you rub shoulders with your peers. It's very entertaining. Shush you. Make sure that you don't show them up too much, alright? I would prefer to come in third place, not first or second. Third place for the chrysanthemums. Oh, if I wasn't doing you a favor, Eleanor, I'd consider that a slight on my good name. Please be a dear. Third place. If I show them up too much, it'll upset them for dinner. Ah, yes, yes. You high elves do love playing your games. Well then. Okay, my boys. She takes a grass piece of leaf from a tree and simply bends it and blows into it, which creates a beautiful whistling sound as her foxes come galloping up to her. Alright then. Well, Delon, Geldas, Ophelia, with me, we will be riding after her in precisely 5 minutes.
Thank you for the wine.
She doesn't say anything or do much of a motion back, but you see as when she rises up from ruffling her fox's ears, she just kind of, you see that her head kind of dips down a little, as if in nod.
Marvelous, we'll have to get some more of this.
About 5 minutes after, so then you see as she does a few stretches and then sprints into the wooded glade, disappearing from view. All of the hunters do the same, and the foxes are on the heels of their rangers, essentially. Shortly after, Eleanor, there is kind of like a horn that goes over, a hunting horn, and all of the nobility begin rushing after their hunters. Eleanor leads your charge, and you find that she rides forwards and she points in certain places for you, Gildas, Delon, and Ophelia. And when you rush past, there's for instance, there's a fowl hanging on kind of on the ground with an arrow in it, or there is a hog laying on the ground with an arrow in it. And when she points, you're supposed to pick it up.
Sounds good.
And essentially throw it onto the back of your horse.
Well, I guess we'll do that.
We'll be eating good tonight.
So you all charge through the woods, and this proceeds for about maybe 30 minutes to an hour. before everybody kind of circles back around into the glade here, and all the nobles kind of laugh and chortle to themselves, raising drinks to a prosperous hunt. To which all the wood elves just kind of shrug and will actually raise a drink amongst themselves to an equally good hunt. There was competition among them, but it's more in a brotherly kind, whereas the high elves are clearly actually in a showing each other up kind. At the end of the day, Eleanor's huntress yoinked her second place, much to Eleanor's chagrin. Which you can see that a lot of the high elves are glaring at Eleanor, but the one who came in first is actually the noble on the unicorn with the curly mustache. He's quite proud of himself. He's purposely twirling his mustache and running his hand through his feather. Just, yes, quite, of course.
All Nigel Thornberry and shit.
Essentially, yes.
Smash it.
He is just puffed up like a peacock about it. Eleanor just simply gives a nod to her hunter and rides her horse up to you and Gildas. Well, at least the one that I needed to come in first came in first. It'll be much easier to negotiate with him if he thinks he has an actual position on me.
Wonderful game being played.
I would have preferred to come in third, as the Chrysanthemums have no less than must-place top 3, but her honor would not allow her to fall below second place at best, it seems.
Do you think we should have dropped some of the game?
Oh, good heavens, no.
No.
Then all worked out. It will cause such a small headache. But you're fine. You'll figure it out.
Yes, the plan should work as I intended regardless. Just a slight hiccup. And she circles her horse and you all begin heading back towards the High Elf City. Notably, all the nobles just kind of congregate and ride at their own pace. There's very little organization as they're riding back. They're just enjoying themselves. Kind of comparing the size of their hulls and brown-nosing each other and all that. Notably, Eleanor purposefully takes up the head of the group so that very few can hear her as much. Well, Delon, Gildas, Ophelia, what did you think of your first hunting trip among the High Elves? It felt like children playing at nobility. And you, Gildas, Delon? I hope you were able to enjoy yourselves to some degree.
Go ahead, Gildas, go for it.
If you call getting a rise out of the nobility fund, then I suppose I did, but as for the hunting part, well, delegating everything to someone else isn't really what I would call a hunt.
Nor would I, but it's how they do things. To hunt themselves would be dirty, and put blood on their own hands. No. They must hire the best huntress or hunter around, and whoever hired the best hunter is clearly the most skilled family.
Maybe they should get themselves a bit dirty sometimes, you know. Maybe that'd do only good for them.
Oh, I agree.
We're not here to judge. We're not here to judge. We're here to enjoy ourselves. So let's try. How about you, darling?
Delon is finishing up his wagon as he says, I met the real masters of the hunt today. They're all fantastic people, and I'm honored to have met them. And if we're going to continue with this bull, as I expect we will, I'm gonna need a few more of these.
You intend to be some more inebriated to handle their barbs and their frustrations. Well,
No, Lady.
Hmm?
No, Lady Nora, quite the opposite. I'm gonna need a bit more of these to loosen up my tongue. It's a bit rusty. Now, I'm going to get serious. And I'm gonna actually roll persuasion at that, just to show off a performance, because I'm gonna show off like, oh nope, I'm gonna take this a bit more seriously. Now I'm gonna get really fun.
Alrighty then.
Delon actually enjoys this shit. I'm gonna roll performance.
Go ahead.
Aw, 15. It's okay.
It's not as good as your last one, but it's still a good roll. Eleanor just kind of gives you a smile and nods at that. You're gonna get serious now. Well, this I'm curious to see. If I haven't seen you serious before, well, now I gotta see this.
Yeah, he's really never had an opportunity to go super serious, or at least serious and have a lot of fun being a noble person. He's too busy being a knight. Sorry, I have to deal with this undead over here trying to kill me.
But I'm
I
glad
think
that
probably
you
around the time to end it.
appreciated them for the masters of the hunt they are. They are masters of their trade, and there's a lot we can learn from them.
Absolutely. And I did learn a little bit more about our friend, Snacks.
Ah,
Seems
is everything alright with him?
still... Well, last time we saw him, he was with the Red Dragonborn.
Wait,
What
that
I
was
didn't know is-
Snacksy he was holding.
Yes, it was. Didn't want to bring it up earlier, but it was confirmed when speaking with your huntsmaster. Her description of him was perfect. Couldn't be any other. She was quite miffed when she heard the news.
I imagine she would be. She's quite fond of him.
I can see why. He's earnest in his own way. In any case, we will find him, and we will deal with it accordingly. I'm sure even the Red Dragonborn isn't as foolish as to cause harm, alienate himself to such a stewarded people.
No. While I kept it close to the chest, I will discuss what I know a little more about him when we get the chance.
Away from prying ears, of course.
Exactly. But he shouldn't be doing anything without a reason. And simply put, he's good at covering his bases.
Hmm.
But, if you wish for more of those, don't worry. Where we're heading next is a luncheon. As it seems the hunt went a bit over, and the elves are a little too happy at the moment to bother with breakfast. They want an early luncheon.
I see.
So we're going to be heading straight on in, and I'm sure there's going to be more of exactly those if you go over towards the fruit and bounty area. There should be a lot of fermented fruits, desserts, and the like, and there should be more wine like that there too.
Stupendous. Oh, and of course, I hope you're having a good time, Lady Eleanor.
I was having an agreeable time, I'll say that. There was some there that I enjoy speaking to, and unfortunately I had to rub shoulders with some that just get on my last nerve.
I see. Well, as long as we can make your time here entertaining, I think we've served ourselves well. Acer Gildas. Lady, your ladyship, Nightfield.
Yes, it was quite interesting to speak with them at length and break down their own internal logic. I'm afraid I did not make any friends or acquaintances.
But did you have fun?
I enjoyed dismantling their position.
I will take that. I'll take it. I'll take the small victories.
Eleanor shakes her head at all of you and just kind of. She has a smile on her face, but she says aloud, "What am I gonna do with a lot of you?"
So we settle this in a debate then.
Oh, good heavens, no, I can't be bothered. And while laughing and chortling amongst yourselves, Ophelia watching with a bit of a small smile, the party rides on into the High Elf City once more. And we will reconvene next week for the luncheon and then the ball.
Yeah. That seems about right, honestly.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you all for tuning in, and hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.